Hello, hello. I'm Antonina Bitumba, and today I'll be watching Case for Christ. I've watched this movie before, but all the details are so blurry to me. I don't remember. I know the main plot, it's about this guy whose wife gets saved and he wants to prove to her why Jesus is not real. But I honestly forgot a lot of the details. I'll be rewatching it now that I'm older, now that I've grown a bit more in my faith, now that I've read more of the Bible. I feel like I'll be able to understand things a lot better because I remember watching this movie, but don't think I paid attention much to the things he was like the important part of the story. I think I was just more focused on like how's this gonna end. But now years later, I'd like to see like what are things that I could have missed, the symbolism, if it has symbolism. So I'm excited to watch this movie. If you like to say with me towards the end where I'll get to discuss this with you and we can share the review, and I would like to hear your thoughts as well in the comments. Ah, I'm loving the cinematography already. The kind of like vintage look.
Now can we eat?
That would literally be me though. I would literally be like, can we eat now?
Is everybody please just give her...
I remember this.
Look at Dad, you okay? Okay, breathe through me. You're gonna be all right.
That must be so scary as
She's
parent.
fine now. It's not luck. It's Jesus. Interesting.
That's why you should be bold and unashamed to mention your faith. Even if it's like feels irrelevant. Because like some people are gonna be like, oh, that was unnecessary, but it's a seed. It's a seed that you sown in someone's heart. You can tell the mom's thinking, like she's still reflecting on that moment. She's still there because it's a near-death experience. You almost lost a child. Oh.
I thought this everyone.
I will go find another hero cop.
He looks like such a 90s or 80s cop.
I prayed.
So what are you telling me, man?
That's so anticlimactic. I thought she was gonna say something
I
crazy.
talked to Jesus. I told him I want him in my life.
Aww.
What this is, okay, it is
Maybe more real than anything I've ever felt in my life.
more real than anything you felt in your life.
Okay, I'm not.
Got
Yeah.
it. Got it.
Yeah.
You know what? I don't want to hear any more of this, okay?
Hun, where are you going?
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I can understand his fear though. He feels as though, they both didn't believe in God and now she's starting to believe in God. And he feels as though by her believing in God, he's losing her ultimately. Because they used to be on the same page. It's scary if you felt like you were on the same page with someone and then all of a sudden you got
Before she gets too deep, but I remember you went through something like this.
and I wants to take her out of this.
One more thing. I'll be praying for you.
That's not even funny. Learned all this God nonsense.
Wow, you sure know how to turn the source.
The Bible. The resurrection narrative is more legend than it is.
He has such a smile on his face because he knows that he's
According to source
like
records.
missing people.
Did you know that we have a
His face. And I love sequences like this, like the really intellectual ones where like they start writing down things. I don't know why, I just do. It makes me feel very smart at the end. This is literally pushing him to wanna like find more evidence against Christianity. It looks like if you can't believe he's in a church.
Date archaeologists have recovered 5,843 Greek New Testament manuscripts.
Wow.
That's 4 times as many as the Iliad.
Wow.
The earliest fragment of the Gospel of John was found in ancient Egypt, and
Wow.
it dates to the 2nd century AD. How close is that to the Asian? Less than 30 years.
Wow.
Only 5 copies of anything that else.
He's fighting so hard not to be impressed.
If he really is the Son of God, why not use his power to defend himself?
That is the question.
Got me out of the dirt and into the church. It's good about secret.
Love. Yes!
I'm not the one who went and changed. You did that.
He doesn't like the fact that she changed, and that's scary.
At the change.
Him reading the vibes.
Consistent as long as the core account is so. In fact, if they're too similar, it's suspect.
That's
true.
Well, that's exactly what we're talking about here.
The Institute is based on evidence, and isn't evidence your trade?
It is. Yes, but what if the resurrection is one of the historical details that was recorded incorrectly? How can we know? How can we ever know?
I'm enjoying this. Wow.
Do you really want to know the truth, or is your mind out of
Like a receipt. And don't close the door.
Oh my gosh.
Our life, and I want you to stay out. Now, is that clear?
Wow.
Well, it's good.
That's that. Wow. 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 I can also imagine how he might feel, all of a sudden showing up like that. It's hard to build a relationship. Maybe he was fearing that her becoming Christian meant that she wouldn't love him as much because he's not Christian, or this would negatively affect their relationship. And now that he's seeing that it's not negatively affecting the relationship at all, but instead it's actually helping the relationship. Maybe that's also gonna be one of the things that is gonna help him change or realize that it's not something that's bad that's happening in life, but something good that's also helping them marry. I feel like so that's where it's from, because I can remember after this movie I kept on quoting over and over again that verse. And then I completely forgot about that season where I just kept on quoting that verse over and over. Was it from this movie? Because I can remember there was a season of that where I was praying that over people. I was like, God, move their heart, soul, and heart, flesh. I didn't know it came from this movie.
It's about your father. I'm just curious, what your relationship with him is like?
Oh, psychologists are scary. Like, did she just get that only from talking to him for a few minutes? Yep.
Cold, doesn't give much affirmation or express love.
How did she get that so
Guilty
easily?
on all charges.
Yep, I definitely got that from this movie. It's actually a powerful prayer to. Wow, that computer is so cool. I wonder how this cop story thing is gonna interplay with trying to find evidences that Jesus is not real, basically. Wait, maybe he's gonna realize. I hope my train of thought is right. Maybe he's gonna realize that he judged the guy and already pleaded because he already believed the guy was guilty. That's why he didn't bother seeing it from a different angle or seek like more evidence or something like that. Like maybe that's something that he's gonna learn. I don't know. I could be completely wrong. I don't actually know what I'm saying, but I have a theory that he's gonna realize the guy was actually not guilty when he realized that he needed to stop seeing the guy as guilty. He needed to be open to believe that maybe the guy's not guilty. What happens if the guy's not guilty? Just like what happens if God is real? what happens then? What happens if the guy isn't the culprit? Did you try seeing things from that sense? I have a theory.
22 caliber handgun. Look at that right there. That's what shot Koblinski.
It's illegal. Any cop to carry a weapon like this one too. Nobody has seen this.
Nobody was looking for it. Koblinski had a secret. He played the victim card, and I bought it.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
so did the cops.
I wish my baptism was so right. And may I did not say it again.
You and only you, hon, right?
I wonder if it's because he's jealous of all the attention and things he's been giving to God. But she mentioned that she doesn't like him any less. Maybe it feels like God invaded their private relationship and became like this barrier between them. And she's trying to show them that no, it's actually a breach. Like he's helping her love him even more.
Shooters. Hicks was immediately taken to Mercy Hospital where he's in serious condition.
It must be so hard to hear. And he would feel so responsible for it too. That's true. I knew this was gonna interplay in this way. You chose to already see him as wrong.
Not believing in God, either way, still takes a leap of faith.
That's true. I love that.
You say
It takes as much faith.
even in our disbelief, we
Yes.
still take a leap of faith.
Yes.
More or less.
Basically.
Yourself.
Yep. What are you gonna choose to believe? Is faith also not to believe in God? I love that. I remember this line from this movie.
100 separate people saw Jesus at the same time.
That would be an even bigger miracle than the resurrection itself.
The disciples reported what
People with zero motivation go out.
When is enough nonsense enough love?
I felt something that is maybe more real than anything I've ever felt in my life.
Love. Come on. Yes. Yay. That must have relieved us so much. This is reminding me of like the ending of War. Actually, there's a lot I could parallel of War in this movie, actually.
Believe plus receive because
I never will know everything, but I know now,
Mm-hmm.
and I believe it.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. So I wish my baptism was so right. And may I did not say it again. I did really watch this, but I forgot a lot of the parts, and some key parts that I really liked was one, her praying. I mentioned how it had this not parallel moment, but it just reminded me of Wohun, of when Priscilla's character was praying for her husband, and then eventually God moved in his heart. I like how she was continuously praying for God to soften his heart and for him to have a heart of flesh, and eventually saw that prayer answered. I also liked the fact that they talked about how it takes as much faith not to believe in God as it takes for you to believe in God, and that's so true. Because what happens if God is real? What happens if heaven is real? That's something that I actually think if people ponder more on, they would realize how powerful that is. What happens if what the Bible is saying is actually true. What happens if there is a heaven? What happens if there is a hell? What happens if this world as we know it isn't eternity? And like that was so profound. I think that's one of the pivotal moments that probably got to him, because he was saying that he only believes in facts and stuff like that, but it takes faith to also believe that this is just the life you're gonna have. It's just gonna be your wife and kid, and you die and move on. That also takes a certain amount of faith for you to choose not to believe. So I like that theme. Also, really liked um how he, like, they show the different evidences. Like, they didn't shy away from like being, I don't know if these are actual people that like actual scientists, or are these just actors, but I like the fact that they were able to explain it. Like, even I didn't know a lot of the things. I didn't know um a lot of the things that were mentioned here, and now I feel more solidified in my faith. So I like the fact that they took time to explain that, and it was visually just good. Like, they would show, like the blood and water gushing out and stuff like that. That was so well done, so well written as well. Also liked how the psychologist was able to tell that one of the things was probably making him skeptical, or one of the things that made him struggle to believe, was probably the fact that he struggled having love from his father. He wasn't brought up, he didn't understand the love of the father, his own father. And I think, like, when the guy told him that, it's because of love. Love is what would make Jesus be willing to die and go through all that suffering on the cross. I think it when he realized that his dad also loved him, it probably awakened his mind a little bit, because before he probably struggled to understand why love would make a father, like God, come down, die, and suffer, when he has never experienced that before with his own father. But now when he saw that no, his father did care for him, did love for him, I bet that probably softened his heart a little bit more, and he finally realized that no, it's that love that would make him be willing to sacrifice himself. So I liked that. I also really it said well written, the quality was good. I liked the 80s slash 90s kind of vibe to it, the aesthetic, everything. It was beautiful. It was good. It didn't have the typical Christian aesthetic that I'm used to, which is a good thing. Like, I could clearly see this movie playing in theaters. It was probably playing in theaters, but I never watched it in theaters, but it's good quality. I like the acting and the performances. I think the performances were pretty solid. I I was sold on the fact that he was a skeptic and he didn't like this, and his wife, I was drawn to the story, which is something that I really like, as well as the wife's story. If you had such a shocking experience like that, or slash traumatic experience, where your kid almost died, you're pregnant, you're about to bring life into this world, that parallel of like death could have happened and you're carrying life, it probably made her think about death and life. Like, what is after this life? What, like, if my child did pass away, where would I see them again? Like, those questions were probably popping at her, and the fact that the black lady's obedience to share, um even though maybe some people might say, okay, the Lord didn't probably specifically tell her to share that part, but her just living out her faith, her being unashamed and unafraid to tell her and mention God, at least mention God in the conversation, is what sowed that seed of her thinking about the faith more and more. And when she went to go visit the lady eventually invited her to church. But imagine if the lady never mentioned God. She was just like, well, I'm a nurse, that's good. But because he said, I'm a nurse, and the Lord, like, I felt something calling me here, and thank you, Jesus. In fact, she wasn't afraid to say Jesus, not just God. I think that shows also us as Christians how important it is for us to live our faith. Yes, and anything could have happened. Maybe she wasn't. What happens if she didn't mention that she was a nurse? She just mentioned Jesus. She, the guy's wife, right? She wouldn't have greeted her or spoken to her the next day and thanked her for what she have done. But that seed would have still been in her, and maybe someone else was going to help water that seed by inviting her to church or something like that. So just living our faith day to day life, saying God bless you, saying something like, oh, I just felt led by the Holy Spirit, or mentioning just Jesus in general. That can be a seed within itself that didn't just save her, but saved her daughter by God's grace, hopefully, and saved her husband at the end. So I really like how it was just one little moment, and the lady took that opportunity to give God the glory, and that her being humble enough to give God the glory and mention Jesus is what led to this book that hopefully saved many people's lives. This black nurse, right? She's such an ordinary person like you and I, but because she was unafraid to mention Jesus, because she was unashamed to say, okay, I'm not gonna take credit for this. I'm not gonna just mention on a nurse, even though her being a nurse is a legit reason why the child's saved. No, she didn't want to just take that credit. She wanted to mention that something pushed her to come there at the restaurant at that time, and because she wasn't afraid to mention Jesus, that it led to a wife being saved. Hopefully, the child being saved, the husband being saved, and him writing a book. It probably saved millions or thousands or hundreds of people, who knows. And I was just like, that's one thing that I can take away from this movie. I mean, there's lots of things I can take away from this movie, but it really convicted me, because there are moments where I would feel like, oh, is it necessary for me to mention this? Is it necessary for me to mention that I prayed before I did this thing, or mention a Bible verse or something like that? But when I watch something like this, I'm like, wait, even though it might seem small, insignificant, me just mentioning Jesus could be a seed, even though I might not see the fruit of it that same day, next week, even though they might not come to me the next day and ask me if they can come to church. Someone else might water that seed, or in years to come, that seed would green surface and it would speak volumes. So I found that extremely encouraging. A lot also convicted me to start praying for God to soften people's heart, because oftentimes if somebody doesn't believe, I'm just like, they don't believe. But praying for God to open people's eyes is so important, because the Bible shows us how we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but also how the God of this world, aka the enemy, how he blinds people. And you know, it can feel like people are just choosing not to believe, but no, the enemy is real. The kingdom of darkness is real, and he actively works to bring doubt into people's mind. He actively works to blind people to the truth. And her taking that time to pray could have removed those layers and things blocking him from seeing and hearing clearly. Now God was removing those things so that he could receive and truly see what God is trying to tell him. Similar to the story, I like the parallel of the story of the guy in prison. He was mentioning you choosing not to believe your story. Like he had a narrative that this guy was guilty, and he was just accepting that. He was not trying to see maybe the guy isn't lying. And I liked how that came into play closer to the end. He wasn't saying that maybe this is all true. And if it all is all true, what does it mean? Right? If Jesus isn't real, like we quote to C.S. that doesn't mean anything. But if Jesus is real, that means a lot. It means that it changes your life completely. And he had to remember that if this guy is guilty, he'll go to prison, he'll move on. But if this guy is not guilty, an innocent guy is going to prison, and the real culprit is going to stay loose. And when he realized that, okay, if Jesus is not real, doesn't mean much to him, other than maybe him and his wife have a different dynamic. But if he is real, it means the whole world. It means that he has an opportunity of eternity. It means he has an opportunity to see his wife and kids even after this life. It means so much, and I really like that a lot. And this really encouraged me to want to pray for a couple of people who I know were atheists, to pray to God to soften their hearts. This encouraged me to be more bold in my faith. This also encouraged me to, it challenged the way I see faith too. Even though I'm a faithful follower of Jesus Christ, even though I'm Christian already, it challenged me to be like, oh, this is, this is what it means to have faith. It means to live for something, and the faith is the evidence of things hoped for. What did I say? Faith is the evidence of things hoped for. Whatever. I'm quoting this wrong, but basically, me choosing to live for Christ is me having faith and belief that it is real. He is real. And I'd rather live knowing that he is real than to live knowing he's not real, because that has no benefit to me. But there's more benefits in me believing in Jesus than there is me not believing in Jesus. The only benefit of me not believing in Jesus is I might have temporary pleasure. I might be able to leave loose. I don't have to have as heavy as a conscience. I don't have to obey God's will and surrender my desires and deny my flesh. That's the benefit, and that benefit can only take you so far. That benefit can only take you so far before you realize it's just leaving you empty, right? If you're only living for this world, which is so temporary, there's only so far that it can sustain you. But if Jesus is real, then denying my flesh and all these other things has eternal value. It's far beyond just making people happy and being a good citizen and getting a good clap on the back for being a good human being. It's a whole eternity. It's saving people. It's having eternal love, joy, peace. And I think that actually renewed my mind more and strengthened me even in my faith. So I enjoy that movie. Share your favorite parts. Share what this movie means to you. Have you watched this movie? What are your thoughts? Is there something that I missed in this movie? Because sometimes when I watch a movie, I might miss a detail. If there's something else that you noticed, or another parallel, or another symbolism, I would like to hear it. I would like us to have a conversation about it. And I'll see you in the next one.